And we are good to go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phase 1 podcast. I'm spending some time with my new friend, Clayton. Clayton, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you. We
Yeah, absolutely.
connected a few months ago. I think we had a conversation real time in November or so, but it was
Yeah.
earlier in the year that we got connected via social platforms. And I just value and respect your values as God-fearing man and someone who I can tell just has a values-based lifestyle. And yeah, I'm glad that you and I were able to connect real time. And here we are. We get to have a conversation. For those of you just tuning in for the first time on the Phase 1 podcast, we break our conversations into three specific themes. The first theme is our story, and that allows Clayton and I to understand each other a little more on a fundamental level and gives us an opportunity to relate to each other on a human level. But beyond Clayton and I, for those of you listening, that gives you an opportunity as well to relate to his story. And then we're going to pivot into our mission, or Clayton's mission. And that's like his day-to-day grind, what he's doing on a daily basis, how he's showing up for himself, how he's showing up for others. And then the last piece of the conversation, we transition into the message. And the message really is an opportunity for us to simply offer words of encouragement to anyone who's listening. We recognize that we're all struggling, we're all suffering in some ways, and suffering is inevitable. It's not something that is going to be separated from us. It's a fundamental part of life, and I think it's challenging to recognize that. But if we recognize that, gathering these words of encouragement can help us as we continue on this journey of life together, and we're not going to leave anybody behind. So again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time that you're offering us and your willingness to share your story, your mission, and your message. So what I'll do here, I'm just going to kind of hand the microphone to you, and I get to sit back and hear your story as you share that with us, and then we'll just keep it going from there. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, right on, man. Happy to be here. Glad we got to connect. I know I was planning on coming up to Washington, but it didn't work out. Like I was saying offline, just so much stuff is going on right now, and I'm at a pivotal point. God has me at a pivotal point in my life, and I had to like cut some things out. But definitely, as I traverse into this new season that's coming up, I'm definitely open to open to meeting in person again and doing this stuff in person around a fire or something like that. But yeah, man. So
Yeah,
as far
I
as my
love it.
story, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I love that. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah,
I believe that.
yeah, for sure. Let's see. As far as my story goes, man, I've told it. I've told it quite a bit over the past year, just because I've been showing up on socials and stuff. But the way I always started, I'm from Texarkana, Arkansas, Texarkana, Texas area, small town, borders obviously Texas and Arkansas. I was born and raised there, and then straight out of high school, went into uh, went into the military, into the Air Force. Signed up to be a combat controller back then. I don't know if you can still do it now, but back then I signed the contract to go straight into it. But you had to have some sort of a backup career field, and I put that as security forces. And nothing against security forces, but I'm glad that I did not go to that, and I went the combat control route. But yeah, it took around 2.5 years for me to get through the pipeline. Excuse me, the training pipeline, And then I was stationed in, once I got through that, I was stationed in Herbert Field, Florida. I was there for, man, I can't remember, 4.5 or 5.5 years. And that's where I did all my all my combat related stuff. So as a combat controller, your primary skills, at least back then, it was air traffic control, controlling aircraft on a permissive and non-permissive or combat, non-combat type environments, and doing assault zones, so like surveying landing strips, surveying helicopter landing zones. So if you can just imagine, you'll see guys out on the side of the road or in a parking lot with the little, it looks like a little optical thing or some sort of computer device, and it's on these, on a tripod, and they're like surveying land. It's kind of similar to that, but at least back then we had a little bit more high tech equipment, and I'm sure it's even better now. But we would get on like our little mini bikes, the little 80cc mini bikes, and we would have a guy run around the airfield just mapping out the airfield, surveying it that way. And we'd have guys with, oh man, I forgot the name of the device, but getting the degrees or like the flight path, the glide ratio of what the minimum of the glide ratio for what the aircraft could travel on. Man, I'm unlocking memories as I'm talking through this. It's been so long. But yeah, we would do things like that. And what I was, what I mainly focused on once I got to my unit, just because the war machine was still going on back then, was the JTAC piece, so Joint Terminal Attack Controller, and that was the main thing that I was pretty much bred to be at my unit specifically, because we were still in combat and everything. And what we would do is we would attach to other special ops teams. For me, it was primarily Green Berets, and I attached to a MARSOC team once. I think they're called Marine Raiders, but I attached to one of those teams as well. But I would be the guy. I was the lone Air Force guy on the radio, calling in airstrikes. And most of the time, the way it always went down is we would start getting shot at first, and a lot of times it's kind of like, where's Clayton at, and I automatically knew to start working it and everything, because a lot of the engagements were over 500 meters or 1,000 meters, because people would take pop shots at you. It wasn't like I wasn't in Iraq, but the way the guys that were long in the tooth, the way that they described Iraq is it was very close, a very close quarters combat type environment. But yeah, so did 2 combat deployments to Afghanistan. Let's see. And then I finished up my combat control career in Okinawa, Japan. So I did 3 years there. And it was a complete change of mission. It was not necessarily combat focused, but it had more of a humanitarian focus, just because of the environment and what would always happen in our area. But it had a lot to do with relationship building with other nations, versus near peer, what we would call near peer adversaries. So we were always trying to, with the smaller countries, the big dogs are trying to like maintain a better relationship than the other one. So it's just a completely different animal. But that's where I got to do, when I was there, whenever Trump was elected for his first term, I got to do 2 security details for him. I attached to another a special forces team that got tasked with that, and they had to have at least 1 CCT with each one of their teams to do that. That was just one of their requirements. So that's how I got to do that. And then in 2018, I was on the Thai cave rescue. It was called Operation Wild Boar, but it was 13 people, a soccer team that got trapped in a cave, a flooded cave, and then I was part of the at least the U.S. team that went in to help rescue those kids out and their soccer coach. After that, 2020, I got out of active duty. And then from 2020 to 2022, I was in the National Guard as intelligence analyst. But I didn't do a whole lot of work at all. It was 1 week in a month, and I was in for just enough time to get my certificate, go to the school, get the cert, and then I bounced out. And the ultimate reason I bounced out was because of the COVID-19 mandate thing. I want to be careful because I know sometimes you get, so I want to make sure you get good views if you post this on Instagram. So
Oh man,
I'll try to use.
this is a free country, and it's your life. You can say whatever you want.
Right
I
on.
appreciate the respect, though.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the mandate came out while I was at the school out in San Angelo, and yeah, I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. And I submitted religious exemption paperwork, and based on what I was hearing going on around me in the military in general, and it was service dependent too, because I think some people got kicked out early, but I knew it was just going to be, in my mind, I was like, okay, worst case scenario, I'm just using this as a chess piece to get to the end of my contract, and I was almost there. And that's pretty much what I did. But right before I got out, my my unit had told me, my home unit had told me that, hey, the mandate's going away. You know, you can still stay in. We'd love to have you. But in my mind, I was like, no, after what I just walked through, I don't think I'm going to do that. And just to be clear, my home unit back in Arkansas, they were like super supportive of me and everything that I was doing. But whenever it came to the schoolhouse, it was just a totally different environment. And the way that the commander talked to the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, it was a night and day difference. And I didn't think to grab them, but I've still got all the documentation of the stuff that they were forcing people to sign. And like the one thing was, I am so and so, and I'm giving you a direct order to do this. And I had started to get into the legalisms of all the words and the word salad of everything that was going on. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not going to say this right now, but I don't think this is a lawful order, being a mandate. And I was ready to challenge it, but I was also trying to play that game of like, okay, I need to lay low. I can challenge when I need to, but I need to lay low to get to the end of my contract. So it was definitely a strategy that I had behind everything. So, but ended up getting out, and during that 2 year time frame as well of me getting out of active duty, I was what's called a field developer. So I worked for a company called T3I, and I was basically, okay, yeah. I was working for them back in Arkansas, and I was responsible for Little Rock, Millington, Tennessee. So it's Memphis, Tennessee area, and then Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I would travel to each location 2 to 3 times per month, just training kids, or I say kids, candidates, to do what I used to do basically. But it was, they're in the delayed entry program. They're pre-military, but it's just teaching them how to do calisthenics, so push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, how to run, how to swim. And then for those that were doing combat control, pararescue, special reconnaissance, teaching them how to stay calm underwater and everything. So, and then 2022 came, and I switched from that job, and I got out of my intel job at the same time. And I moved down here to San Antonio, Texas, still working for T3I, but as the water confidence coach at the schoolhouse. So and I got to see some of my candidates come through. So they would go through basic training, and then I was the next stop at the special warfare candidate course. But yeah, that was a good time. I did that for about a year, but I was always getting sick from all the stuff going on in the pool, because I think we were in the pool for about at most 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. And you know how people are whenever they come out of basic training, they're bringing all that crud in. It was messing me up, man. Um,
Mm.
but then I switched over to this security job that I have now, and it pays a lot more. But I needed the money at the time, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do this. And yeah, before I get into anything else, do you have any questions over any of that? Because I was going to go into the stuff about my brother from here.
I'm going to take a moment and think. I don't have any questions. I have so many curiosities.
Mm.
There are so many things that you've done in your life, and gosh, I'm just so curious. Maybe we can circle back to it. The
Mm.
biggest curiosity that I have is the impact of being a part of the Thai cave rescue,
Mm.
and what that impact was on your life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So specifically, I can talk about it now if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, you bet, man. So specifically with that, as far as the impact goes, like that was not something, for one, I ever thought I would do. It was completely outside of my scope of what I thought my job would ever be. And it's not something that I was technically qualified to do as a combat controller. The only piece I was really, well, I guess there's multiple. So we did like a small, I did a very small scuba dive portion, open circuit with the tanks on my back. But it was because there was like stalagmites and stalactites in the cave. That part of the cave was still flooded as they were pumping out water. And it was maybe like a 30-foot section, but we got on compressed air and just kind of followed a rope. And you could only see, about that far in front of your face because the water was so muddy and murky inside the cave. Yeah, man, we could end up doing like a whole podcast on this whole thing, but I'll keep it short. But there was
That's
one,
what I was thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was one section, or before we went with the dive option, where we were going out into the mountains and trying to find gaps or holes in the cave to see if we could hear any children in any of the chambers. And part of my job for that was helping out clear like a HLZ, or at least an area that a Mi-17 Russian helicopter, because that's what they were using over there. They could sling load in a drill and then a backhoe to help clear things out. And what we were going to do is drill down, or what they were going to do was drill down to get to the kids to try to create a bigger and bigger hole so we could get supplies down there, and then eventually lower someone down, hook the kids up, and then pull them out one by one. But as far as the impact, I think it was just really cool to see all these different nations from all over the place come together to achieve one common goal. And it was really cool. A big piece that the U.S. played was the mission planning. That was like really the key part. Because the way I understood it, we had Commander Hodges. He came in. Major Hodges came in, and I think him and our other guy, Derek Henderson, they were able to like kind of help wrangle everybody together because it was a little bit chaotic. Everybody was doing everything, but the U.S. came in and pulled people together. That's the way I understand it. And added that mission planning piece, came up with a plan to execute, and then we literally did like a little mini rock drill. We had everybody that was going to be involved, all the different nations, people that were a part of it from the different nations, and we just made like a line, and we had water bottles, and they were simulating like the different tanks that were going to be staged throughout the cave and where they were going to be, what chamber they were going to end up at, so the British guys could actually get all the way back there and do their job, and then pull the kids out, and then have enough tanks, have the right number of tanks to change over to, and then go back into a dive. But yeah, that's much longer story. But that was cool to see that. And then as far as the impact on me, I think it was something. It's just cool to kind of look back and after doing that and getting to essentially save people's lives. I remember being there. I was like, man, this is not what I want to do. This is not something I ever wanted to do, but like this is the most unique thing I've ever done in the military and in my life. And it's just kind of cool how it's translated over into what I'm doing now with the business. I've thought about that a couple of times. I'm like, man, I'm like doing good things for people. I'm not doing this thing
Hmm.
it's completely opposite of what I was doing. And it's just kind of cool to see that 180-degree transition. But I think that may have been like a little seed in my life that was planted, and just kind of looking back on it, seeing where I am now, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that.
Hmm.
I, yeah, I didn't know that. So it just kind of blew me away when you mentioned that. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure we could talk about it for hours. But yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing the impact that it had on you. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is the respect that I have for you for staying grounded to your values when COVID mandates were coming down. That was a really tough time for me in my career. At that time, I'd been in almost 10 years, and it was incredibly frustrating for me. I felt really embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I probably still do have a deep sense of embarrassment and combination of guilt, regret that I just didn't stand firm in my values. And I reflect back on that time and where I'm at now. I'm much more firm in my values today than I was back then, which also kind of shows me that maybe I didn't really know my values back then. And I was just conforming to, what the standard was and what the mandates were. And yeah, I'm sure we could talk about, COVID and all that. I had to throw my bed away after I got the vaccine. I was so sick and was having such wild adverse reactions
Mm.
for about 48 hours.
Yeah.
And it just, I genuinely thought that I was going to die. I just had never experienced something like that. And, just to see it go the way that it's gone and seeing the 180 essentially, like, hey, we know that we mandated you to do this, but it was kind of like a sorry, we're just going to keep on going from where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And whatever, people can think what they want about it is fine, but yeah, I appreciate you doing what you did, and it sounds like you're on a better path, and I support you fully for doing what you did and where you're going now. So yeah, to try to start transitioning from those key moments in your life, those pillars to your story, and transitioning to where you're at now. Before we broke for the two pieces that I talked about, the Thai cave rescue and the COVID mandates, you said you were going to start talking about your brother. So if you, yeah, I'll be quiet so you can continue where you were at.
Yeah, man. So, um, let's see. It was 20. Trying to tie in the whole story. So, coming out of the military, I knew that I was exposed to quite a bit. So just being in Afghanistan and then swimming around, diving in the types of water that I've been in, especially after coming out of the cave, like I had these I don't know what they were, and I think I've still got something on my finger from the cave. Um, but I had like these little bumps start popping up like warts, and I don't know what it was. I never got seen for it, but they were popping up, and I fortunately when they were small, I was able to pick them out, and they never like came up and got big. But I've got something on my finger that I think is still from the cave, and I'm gonna have it removed at some point. But
Mm-hmm.
you get in these, and just so people know, in these special ops type career fields, like they are glamorized from like Call of Duty and Battlefield, the video games. But when you actually walk the walk and you live that life, these are not easy jobs. They are not, man, it is, it is not a lifestyle that's necessarily easy. Um, and it can be very hard on your family, especially like if you're married. Uh, I've had guys, the older guys, as I was growing up in the career field, say like it's a single man's job, and I see why, because divorce rates have been historically have been so high in these types of career fields, because you're gone so much, and it's hard on your body and everything, and you do things that are not, they're not fun, but there's something on the flip side of that. After you do the things that you've been asked to do or tasked to do, there's a sense of accomplishment after that that you don't get with any other career field, and that's one of the cool things. And it remind we'll talk about my stories on like another podcast or something. But it just reminded me of one. But anyway, so yeah, I knew I was exposed to a lot, and I was like, all right, I need to, if I want to live the life that I want to live, the extended life, long lifespan, I have to really clean up my life. And I started experimenting with like different diets, primarily carnivore diet and everything, and seeing great results from it. And my back issues that I was having essentially went away from doing an animal based top diet. Um, Now, I was still like that in the military a little bit, but coming out, I really made that transition. And then coming into San Antonio, I had a Berkey water filter, and I was like all about, you know, cleaned up my food. Now I was like, I think there's something with my water. I think there's more that I can do. And I noticed on the bottom of the spout there was like buildup, and it was like I just got new filters and everything on it. And I was like, man, this should not be looking like this. Um, and I guess Instagram either heard me talking to myself or heard my thoughts, seen my thoughts, whatever it does now. Uh, and I found a distributor. A lady was distributing the product, the machines that I have, the hydrogen water machines, ionizers, they're Kangen water, and I followed her, and she always talked about it in her stories and stuff. So I had it planted in the back of my mind. I'm going to reach out to this girl, and I'm going to talk to her about these machines one day. And I was at work one night, and I seen her little Instagram story pop up, and I was just not even thinking. And I just like tapped to vote on it for more info. Well, I thought it was going to be one of those Instagram influencer-y things where they make a massive post about it. For some reason, I thought that, but then she reached out to me directly. And at that time, I was trying to keep my digital footprint low, like locked down. I didn't like really want to talk to anyone online or anything. So I was like, why did this lady just send me a message? But she was just responding to my vote, and she began to educate me on the product and everything. And I was like, okay, I think this is something that I might like. It can work. And um, it was, and they're a high price for the flagship model. And I was like, hey, that's fine. I got the money. I value my health more than I do, you know, I guess the money in my bank account or whatever. If that makes sense. Like I don't. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard for me to put a price on health, especially given what I understood about um, all the things I was exposed to. I was like, I just wanted to try everything I could.
Mhm.
And then about 2 weeks of me learning about the machines and the water and everything, that's when one of my brothers, Brandon, had a stroke. He was up north. He's a pipeliner, and the way the way his wife described it, she was on the phone with him. She was back in Arkansas, and he was up in Pennsylvania, or excuse me, New Jersey. He was up in New Jersey, and he was in his hotel room, and they were just talking on the phone, and he started going making a noise like that. Well, he's like really silly and stuff, and he's always messing with her, and she thought he was messing around and everything. And she's like, if you don't quit messing around, I'm gonna hang up the phone. Well, he wouldn't stop. She hung up the phone, and then she called him back. No answer. Called the hotel staff. Hotel staff went up to the room. They couldn't get in the room, and they called the police. The police were able to get in, and I think he was laying on the floor, and they realized he had a stroke. And I had known my brother about a year or 2 years prior to that. I knew that he had gotten the J&J, and whenever that happened, my mom was telling me about it. And I know he didn't want to get it, but he only had one source of income to support his family, and it was like he was in just in one of those situations, and he ended up getting it. And yeah, so he was when that happened. Whenever I found out he had got it, I was like, all right, there's a chance based off the studies that I've looked at and the things that I've seen, something might happen to my brother. So I just need to be prepared for that. And then that day came and it happened. But got him. I think they got him in the hospital up there. And as time went on, he was in New Jersey. Got him back down to I think Longview, Texas, and then I don't know if he ever went to Little Rock, Arkansas, but he was just kind of all over the place. And he eventually made his way back to Texarkana, and wasn't taken, very well. He wasn't taken care of very well in the hospital system, which was even more frustrating for me. But come to find out, I talked to my mom about it, and got in touch with a homeopathic doctor that uses the machines, uses the water from these machines to help people recover from vaccine injuries in general. And she has some of her staff that use the water to help people recover. And whenever I talk to them, they're like, "Hey, you're doing the right thing. This is the way to go. Like, he's going to be fine. You're doing a good thing getting him out in the water and everything." But as time went on, between myself, my mom, and the homeopathic doctor, after seeing the symptoms, like he was experiencing the myocarditis, the swelling of the heart and everything. That's what my mom told me based off the scans or whatever that they were doing, and said his entire carotid artery was blocked off from the first massive stroke that he had. And we're like, okay, yeah, this is definitely all the signs and symptoms of the shot. So yeah, when I first heard about that, I started backing up. When I first heard about that, like he had a stroke, my mom called me panicking. I got in touch with the girl that was distributing the machines, and I keep looking over here because the machine's over here on the counter. I was like, "Hey, my brother just had a stroke. I think it's from the vaccine." And she sent me specific details of what the water does to the blood and how it helps stroke victims, how it can help with blood clots. And just to clear everything up, I'm not making as a disclaimer, I'm not making medical claims. It's not the water that heals the body. The water supplies the body with the appropriate nutrients, building blocks that the body needs so that the body can start to heal itself. It's not the water that heals. So I just want to make that very clear so I don't make
Mm-hmm.
medical claims. Um,
Thanks.
I can get in trouble with that.
Well,
So, um, but yeah, so I was like, all right. And I was like, do you think this water can help him? She's like, yeah, I think it can. So I bought myself a machine, but I'm like 7 to 9 hours away from my brother at this point. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get him this water? And I start to learn about the business too. So I'm like, and I'd always kind of wanted to start some sort of business for myself. And it's like, well, I think this is a God thing, everything that's happening right now. So I'm just going to do the business too. And then for that side, I invested in like the max package to maximize your profit. But I was still unsure about it and everything. Uh, but I just did it anyways. I'm a wild man like that. So, uh,
mm-hmm.
so as time goes on, I start doing the business, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get the water to my brother. I start sharing water in like little bags with other people, and I start seeing the results that they're having, and it's like a wide spectrum of results. Like like one of my buddy, he was running, his knees were hurting. I gave him the water for a 2 week trial, and his knees stopped hurting. And then after the 2 week trial, he goes back to doing his normal thing. He's like, man, my knees are starting to hurt again. I was like, I thought so. I thought that would happen. But yeah, just seeing all different kinds of things and certain, I guess, elements that people have, just seeing them start to go away, and it's building my confidence in the product. I'm like, all right, I think I can really start to get down with this. And then for me, I had red rashes on the back of my head, and I don't know what it was from, but uh, within 72 hours to a week's time frame, the red rashes went away, and I was starting to get like a bad body odor. I'd be in the gym, and my shirt would dry. It was not really an outdoor gym, but it was in like an old garage, like a car garage. So the fans would be on, and when my shirt would dry, it's like just like a really bad smell, and I hadn't smelled like that before, and I was like getting real self-conscious about it. And I was like, man, I don't know where this is coming from, and I don't know what to do. But within about, again, 72 hours to a week's time frame, that smell went away. And as I've done a little bit of research, what I found out is I was having some sort of gut health issue, because your gut health, if you got like bad body odor, it stems down to your gut health. So whatever was going on, the water did its thing. No more bad body odor. Um,
mm-hmm.
but that's my personal testimony with it. And then, so I keep sharing water with people, keep doing the business. I start selling machines. And then throughout this time, it's about a 6 to 8 month period. And my brother is just like going through it back home. So I'm trying to do the business and then focus on what's going on with him. And they had like cut out part of his skull because his brain was swelling and everything. And he had like fluid all in it, and it would swell and go down, swell and go down. And there was one point, I think it was springtime of last year. He ended up coding, and they brought him back to life. And at this point, I was talking to my mom, was texting her, and it's like, I don't want to keep, putting him through this stuff, because it was like bad, rough on him. And it's like, is it inhumane to like keep him going? Is it better to just let him go? And ended up, the decision was made between, I want to say between his wife and my mom, who's like, put him on comfort care and let him go in peace. And they weren't sure like if he was going to even be able to recover to this state. Like is he going to be out of it, or is he going to be in this near vegetative state the rest of his life? But ended up got him on hospice care and was putting him on comfort care as well. And I think they put him on comfort care before they got him in hospice. And it's just, just the wildest thing. Like he wouldn't pass away. Like they were pumping morphine and everything, and he wouldn't die. So, and I think I had mentioned it in one of my reels on Instagram. I was like, I was secretly praying like, hey, that this wouldn't happen and that he could make a full recovery. And ended up he made it. And at this point, I had got my mom on the phone before this had happened. Got him on the phone and or got her on the phone. Got her on the phone with the doctor, the homeopathic doctor I was talking to. Her name's I don't think she would mind me saying it. Dr. Moika Reynaud. She's well known within the community, the water community, for the things that she's done and whatnot. But ended up, I was able to finally convince my mom to like, hey, let's get this machine and let's get him the water. And I put everything, her account and everything, I put it all under her name, but I paid for the machine and had it shipped back to Arkansas. But up until this point where he coded, the doctors, there were mainly two doctors involved at the care facility he was at back home. And they were not open, of course, not open to anything having to do with the water, having the machine set up in there. And and I was getting upset about it. And I went back home to see him. And I had looked in the facility at the water that they were using to do like his milkshakes, because he had like a tube hooked up. He couldn't eat anything. He couldn't take anything in with his mouth. And I was looking at the water that they were using to, give him medicine and everything. And you know how most sinks that have like a little mini filter on it that will at least take out any grime and sediment, any large chunks. They had nothing. There was like nothing there, nothing to filter. It was pure tap water. And at this point, I had done a ton of research on all the contaminants that are in tap water. And it's like, you guys are literally giving him poison and then all the other junk that's in the tap water system in the city. And it was just like super infuriating, because I've got a Japanese medical device that can fix this issue with the water, and you guys are just so hell bent on sticking to your guns with your medical procedures and all this junk. And I could go on about that, but it was super frustrating for me. But yeah, once we got him in hospice care, he wouldn't pass away or anything. Got the machine hooked up, and I'm having to pull everything from my mom to really see what's going on. Is the water actually helping? So those doodle pads, it's got the magnetic piece on the end of the little drawing device, and you can draw on it, and then to make it scramble, you shake it. Mm-hmm. So they had him using one of those, and he was just getting out of the traditional medical facilities. His health automatically started to slowly increase. But when they got him on the water, I got the machine hooked up, had it on the lowest setting that the doc recommended. And right before they put him on the water, he was able to draw on the doodle pad, and it just looked like a set of initials, like P. It looked like PM is all that it looked like. But from that point, a week and a half later, after being on the water, he was able to write his full name legibly. And it's just like, and I kind of had an idea that it might do that, because the water itself, it helps to create new neurological pathways in the brain. I learned that from a doctor. I think her name's Dr. Corrine Allen. She uses the water in her brain health institute. I think she has like kids with autism and things like that come in, but she uses the water to help, get things going. But I was like, all right, sweet. This is all. It's the product's doing what I thought it was going to do, and again, it just increases my, I want to say faith, but my belief in the product and what it does for people. So,
Hmm.
and as time has gone on, I think we're to the point now. He's been able to he's been able to go to rehab facilities now to start moving his joints and everything, and they're starting to move him around and get them to do stuff. But he can now feed himself. I seen him taking a fork and stabbing. It looked like some fruit or something, but he's able to get it up to his mouth and eat now. So,
Mm.
and when all this stuff first happened, he could, I said near vegetative state earlier, but he could only move his eyes like left and right. He could track you just a little bit, but now he's able to look around and like acknowledge you, and you can like, it's like, okay, that's my brother. My brother's in there, and like
Mhm.
he is. I remember when there was all this doubt, like, is he gonna like regain any of his stuff? And like you can tell he's in there. So it's really cool to see, and he's getting he's gotten his redneck attitude back, his mischievousness, and he's a bit of a jokester too. So it's like his personality is back, is basically what I'm trying to say. So,
Mm.
but yeah,
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I'm sure he's fortunate to have you as a brother.
Yeah. I went to the last time I went to see him, it was maybe a couple months ago. It was right before Christmas, and I came down for like a day or something, and I was trying to say bye to him. I went up and I grabbed his hand, and he, I think his wife and my mom were like, "Hey, Clayton's got to leave. We got to go home." And he's just holding my hand. He's going kind of like with a little smirk on his face. He's like,
Mhm. Mm-mm.
just doing that. So it's cool to get to go back and see him after all that. So
That's sweet. That's a sweet bond that you get to have with him.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that.
yeah, for sure.
And then you got a few other things going on for your day to day. For your, it looks like you got personal coaching
Mm,
thing going on. Yeah, can you get into
yeah.
that?
Yeah, so this is something I didn't expect. It's not something I ever really see myself doing, just like the water business.
Mhm.
It just started to unfold. But I went to a Nashville event, and it was like a place for people that do the water business for us all to come in and learn. And we learn from Coach Michael Bird. He's a high level coach. He used to be a basketball coach, and I want to say he fits in the network marketing category, but he's just built up a massive business just coaching other executive type people that own big businesses. Like I know he's probably done higher level people too, but went to GM to, I've seen pictures of him at GM, General Motors,
Mhm.
doing stuff there with them. So he's like a high level dude. But yeah, went there, and I just had a thought. The person that was planning that trip, Becca, I knew that she needed help trying to market the event. And I was like, man, I wonder if I throw in, part of my background, just throw in some shooting stuff, if that would help. But even before that, I had thought about going up there. For some reason, I thought about going up there to shoot. And I was just like, oh yeah, and I wanted to take like a little mini vacation to myself. So I took more time off on the front end of that so I could just get away from San Antonio and just have some time to myself and be in the country, in Franklin, Tennessee. And Franklin's amazing. I love it. But I wanted to spend some time out there. And I just happened to mention something about shooting, and one of the one of the girls in the group was like, "Well, I want to shoot. Can you teach me?" I was like, "Well, yeah, if you come down early enough, I'll teach you." And then It's primarily a group of girls in my group that I'm in, and then it was like one right after another. They were like, "Hey, I want to shoot." Like, it's like, all right, well, I guess. And it kept growing. I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to take people out to a range by myself and do this. I'm going to need help at this point because it became an actual part of the event. And I got in touch with I think they're called the Glock store out in Tennessee, out in Nashville. And they've got a sweet, it's an awesome indoor range. You can move the walls around and stuff.
Mm.
And they do nighttime stuff in there and everything. But I had three of the instructors help out with the whole thing, just getting people in there to shoot, and we had like the automatic weapons so people could get on that and just burn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was really cool, and then it just kind of evolved from there. People, as I was posting pictures on Instagram of me with my rifle and pistol, just shooting one day with my, it was that, and then with my buddy Eli, he does all the good pictures that I post, the videographer, the reels that are like super sharp. He's the one that does all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but people were seeing that and they're like, "Hey, I want you to teach me how to shoot and everything." And I was like, "Man, I got this security job doing the water business. Like, my time's not free. Like, I can't just
Mm-hmm.
like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to like, I'm going to charge people to do it." Um, and then it slowly just evolved from there. And I just started, I'm not doing ads or anything. I've just made some posts, and I've got people interested. February 14th, I'm going to take some folks out to the range and we're just going to sling some lead and
Mm-hmm.
with some pistols. So, but and I say sling some lead, I don't like to just show up to the range and then have people dump mags. Like, I want them to take away tangible skills that they can apply to their life. God forbid they're ever in some sort of situation where they have to pull a firearm. Um, I at least would like them to be able to shoot accurately if they have to. So something I did a little practice run. I was trying to test out my gear and equipment. Did a little practice run with a guy that's been interested in doing it, and I just took like a before and after pic. I was like, "Hey, load up a full mag, dump it at your own pace, however you feel comfortable." And then I timed everything and I took his splits down, and like his total time, how long it took him to do it, plus his shot group. And then from the 2 hour training session we did, it was just kind of off and on. It wasn't like a full training session for him because we're testing stuff. And by the end of it, he had like tightened his shot groups up. All of his follow up shots were quicker, and his total time was down and everything. So that's what I try to do for people, is like show them like, hey, the stuff is actually, you're actually learning good, valuable information whenever you come out here with me and shoot. And I show that in a reel and everything to help market it and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, it looks good. And
yeah,
that's what caught my attention. I think it was a picture of you with your firearm, and I was like, "Oh, cool.
mm,
Who is Clayton?" Kind of want to see a little bit more about him and learn from him,
yeah,
and then seeing your values were similar to mine and very faith based. That's really what hooked me, and I was like, "Oh, that's sweet. I really like that and respect the guy, even though I don't know him."
yeah.
But
And I think
yeah.
our buddy Chase, I think he reposted something I had, and that's how you
Mhm.
seen that pic, because I
Oh,
thought it was through him too.
yeah.
Uh, I Yeah, I think he shared something maybe on his story or something.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you had seen that, and uh,
Oh,
but it was
Chase
one of
Young.
my shooting. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, I love that guy.
he's a
He
good dude.
is. He's a very, very good person.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
We went through. Well, I went through the pararescue training with him for only 4 weeks or so
Mm-hmm.
before I quit that training. I remember him being on FaceTime with his wife when they were having their first baby.
Oh man,
Yeah, but he's a solid dude.
yeah,
Yeah. Big shout out to Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that has to be it. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shoot, man, we've talked about so many things. This is all just wave tops. Like, I really think that there is so much more that we could really do a deep dive in, and on a fundamental level, just get to know each other more.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll definitely keep in touch after this. But I'm happy to hear everything that you shared with us with your story, and then to see you stay in line with your values. Yeah, just being firm in your values, and then being very driven to take control of your health, and to see how that opened up doors for you to help other people, including your brother and yourself and other people that you're helping with this product that you're working with, and to hear that it's you're taking that and incorporating it into your business, and then just seeing how God's working in you and through you to helping people. So I recognize that. I'm witness to that, and it's really cool to hear that and to see that. So I pray only good things from here on out for you, and for those that you get to impact. But from here, if we can transition to the last piece of the conversation, and that is the message. So that's recognizing where we've come from, what's happened to us, and instead of letting it happen to us, we take control as best we can. We move forward with the tools that God gives us to help us move forward and find that hope. But we also recognize as humans that adversary is at the front door of all of our homes, and we need to be equipped to deal with adversity when it comes, and not only on a physical scale, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So we want to open up this space right now just to offer words of encouragement through whatever message we have for those that need to hear it. So, yeah, brother, if you got any words of encouragement that you'd like to share, I'd definitely be receptive to hearing that.
Yeah, man. I'll say for me, the biggest thing that has changed my life is, like, I'm going to tie it back to the business, but that's just how it is, man. There was a point where I was like, God, I want you to take what I'm doing. I give this to you. You had the reins. You take this and you do with it what you will. And that's when, man, it's like I think for the first time in my life, I was truly in alignment with what God wanted for me and His purpose for my life, and not my purpose. And you notice how I said I never expected to be a distributor of a water machine. I never expected to be teaching people how to shoot. And I think a lot of this, but I love doing this stuff. And I think it's because I actually aligned myself for the first time. I've aligned myself with God, and I've allowed Him to align me with Him.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is such a huge, I've realized that is such a huge thing for people to do. And it's not just, praying like, God, I hope you help me here. I hope you do this for me. Like, no, 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 no. Here it is. Whatever it is that you have, here it is. Give it to Him. Just surrender it. Stop trying to take control of everything and just give it to Him and let Him have it. And then watch what He does.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, man.
Yeah.
And then whenever it comes to, if I'm, my apologies if I jump ahead here, but anybody that's hurting or anything like that, like, don't don't play the whole victim mentality, because, like, things happen to everybody. We've always got something coming at us. Life is always going to happen, but don't look at it as like, oh, this happened to me. It's like, okay, this happened. what can I learn from it so it doesn't happen again? Or is God allowing something happen to teach me a lesson? What is he trying to teach me? How did I react in this? Being able to turn and just look at yourself and like your own thoughts, the way that you react to situations, and be able to just being like, man, is that the right way to act? Did I carry myself properly? Man, did I do what he wanted me to do? Just that self-reflection piece. And I know, and I've talked to people, when I tell people my story and the things that I've done, people can tend to put you on a pedestal a little bit. And something I've told folks is like I put my feet on the floor every morning. I get out of the bed the same way that you do every day. So I'm no different than you. I've just walked a different path. I'm not Superman by any means. And then I tell people the stories of some of the things that I've done, and they're like, man, that is not normal at all. Like, and their eyes get really big. And then I think about the guys that have been in my type of background, but have done it way longer, and me knowing their stories. I'm like, man, wait, if you only knew what some of these other guys have done. But yeah, I hope I hit the target there for you. So.
Yeah, I like the verbiage there. That's cool. I like how you did that.
Yeah.
Definitely hit the target. But the thing is, like, there's no wrong answer with this, because we're all human, And for me, I try my best to recognize my flaws, and I really like how you're talking about like submitting, because earlier I was talking about trying to be in control, and I wanted to catch myself before I really said be in control, because if we surrender ourselves fully to Christ, then what are we really in control of?
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm in control of a lot the more that I think about it. So what I was trying to convey is like recognizing what God allows us to do to move forward with the trials and tribulations that he's going to gift us with ultimately, so that he can allow us to see like what he's doing with us to glorify his kingdom. Yeah. I appreciate everything you said and your perspective. It's encouraging to hear that. I got one more question for you, and this is something that I like to ask everybody at the end of the conversation. But as we reflect on everything we've talked about, if you want to take a moment and just think about the idea of phase one, and if you'd like to share with us, again, no wrong answers with this one, but what does phase one mean to you?
Phase one. To me, I think of phase one, just the beginning of something new. It's the starting point. The starting point of something new. But given it's phase one, it's going to be a journey, because there's going to be multiple phases to it. And so you got to be ready, prepare for what God is going to take you through, and know that everything's going to be all right in the end, because he's got you. That's just what came to mind, man.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you. I just get so curious because it meant something to me when I was running around the 1604 in San Antonio, and running in the middle of the heat when I didn't want to, and I just stopped on the side of the highway, and I'm like, what am I doing? I just felt like in that moment, God just put like phase one on my heart. And it was the genesis of where we're at. And if I can relate to you and what you've shared with me, I also sit here today and I'm like, I didn't think that I would ever start a podcast, considering I don't like to hear the sound of my own voice, which is also funny because I teach survival. So yeah, it's just funny, but God's he's got the reins. And when we show up in full, he uses us. and it's not always going to be glamorous. It's actually in the moments that are more uncomfortable that I try to recognize as moments that I can be grateful for, because I know he's just forging us to glorify his kingdom. Yeah, it's a blessing to live another day that he's given us. So yeah, man, I appreciate your time and genuinely look forward to staying connected. And yeah, just doing more of a deep dive. It'll be cool. This is just wave tops. I can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it'd be cool, man. I'm all about it.
For sure. Well, for those of you listening and you want to stay connected to Clayton, how can they get connected with you?
So you can, the easiest way is going to be to just follow me on Instagram. So my Instagram is Clayton underscore McMurray underscore. You guys can just follow me there and message me. I got Facebook too, but I've got them both connected, but I'm primarily on Instagram, just pumping out stuff. So you guys can reach out to me and follow me there.
Cool. Right on, man. Well, I appreciate your time and your willingness to spend some life and share your story, your mission, and your message with us. For the rest of you, until next time, peace, love, keep it real.